So joining us now from Washington is a guy named Tyler O'Neill. He's got a new book out called Woktopus, like octopus, Woktopus, The Dark Money Cabal, Manipulating the Federal Government. Ooh, that sounds very ominous. It's out now. And Mr. O'Neill is a conservative guy and works for a number of groups. Why don't you tell me what dark money is first? Simple. I'm a simple man. I have to be able to understand what dark money is.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. It's an honor to be here with you. Dark money just basically means it's funding that doesn't have to disclose who the donor is. So you have many sorts of nonprofits. Pretty much every nonprofit is technically a dark money group because they don't have to disclose their donors. Only in some certain circumstances do you have to disclose.
Do they get tax exemptions, these organizations?
Yes. So tax exemption does not require you to disclose your donors, especially not publicly. And this is a fundamental First Amendment right that we have to support causes we believe in without fully disclosing who we are.
We can do it in the shadows, and that's legal. I don't think that should be legal. I think if you give a donation to a nonprofit political group, that your name should be listed. Would you disagree with that?
I think when it comes to public disclosure, we've seen situations where conservative groups, there have been videos, video games of people going into a conservative organization and shooting people up. I mean, the Southern Poverty Law Center also put FRC on a hate map that led to a domestic terrorist attack. So I think the ability to give privately is a good First Amendment
There's some protection. Okay. Valid point. Now, I looked over your book, didn't read it all because I didn't get it in time, but you zero in on a number of organizations on the left that you believe influenced President Biden to do things that were harmful to the country. All right?
Yes.
Am I summing it up? Okay.
100%.
One of the first ones is the oil and gas industry. And we'll all remember that as soon as Biden got into office, he slapped a number of executive orders and restrictions on oil and gas. And that led to prices at the gas pump and in the grocery stores and restaurants zooming up. So who was behind that?
Many different groups. I mean, the Sierra Club is one of the biggest actors when it comes to the sue and settle strategy, which is a really noxious strategy by which these environmentalist activists essentially force the federal government to crack down on oil and gas. And of course, many of the federal agencies are staffed by environmentalists anyway. So the environmentalist group feeds its staffer into the administration. The administrative agency gets a lawsuit from the Sierra Club saying, crack down on oil and gas, or else. The agency wanted to do that anyway. So the agency says, oh, sure, we weren't following the law. We weren't being hard enough on oil and gas. They crack down on oil and gas. Sometimes they give a settlement to the nonprofit too. So you have really this back scratching between these two
and that's all
groups.
Driven by the global warming crew, right? Climate change crew. They don't want the fossil fuels, so they're going to try to de-emphasize them as well. And Biden buys into that almost immediately, correct?
Oh, yes. And of course, if you look at the Inflation Reduction Act, before it passed, he said, oh, this was going to bring down inflation. After it passed, he said it was the most historic investment in a generation in green energy. And so he tapped John Podesta, the founder of the Center for American Progress, and Hillary Clinton's former campaign chairman, to direct billions of dollars in federal government spending to his green cronies.
Okay. Then you have gender ideology. This almost came out of nowhere, this trans stuff. It just kind of bam, right in, and you had a presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, saying, yeah, if you're in jail or if you're an illegal alien and you want to change your gender, we'll pay for it. The American workers will pay for it. How the heck could that happen?
Yeah, so I think the Human Rights Campaign is the short answer to that question. This is a very influential group because of the ESG movement in capitalism, a lot of funders, a lot of venture capitalists said, we're not going to give money to companies unless they fit everything that the Human Rights Campaign does. So they have a corporate equality index. For Biden, they released a blueprint for positive change. The Biden administration followed 75%, implemented 75% of that blueprint. So I call it the Biden Equality Index, and I go through every single thing in my book. I did all the research to show how the Human Rights Campaign was calling the shots.
Why woke? Why trans? So few of them. With 340 million people here, and this becomes the headline that we got to do this, and kids can do it, and everything else. Why do they pick them? What was that all about?
It throws society into confusion. It divides people. It undermines people's trust in their own ability to think. And I mean, that's one of the main issues here is we have the woke elites pushing their agenda on the American people. And most people, they're like, oh, if somebody is struggling, they want to have compassion. So you hear, oh, somebody's confused about their gender. I don't want to be mean to them. But at the same time, these policies make women unsafe in their private spaces. They make things unfair.
Sure, the unintended consequences on the athletic field and everywhere else. Now, final question for you, Tyler, and it's a good book, and it's Woktopus. That's better. I can finally pronounce it, Woktopus, and it's something you guys should consider getting. Do you think Biden knew what he was doing, signing all of this insanity, that it just unraveled the American government to the extent where the incoming administration has to spend all of its time, 100% of its time, just trying to get the insanity out? Do you think Biden knew what he was doing when he signed these EOs?
That's an excellent question. I think the woke activist groups and the Woktopus knew what they were doing. And
so
when
they
you
absolutely
talk about,
knew.
Yeah.
But were they taking advantage of an infirm man?
Oh, absolutely they were taking advantage of him. But I also think he thought that this is where the Democratic Party is. He always goes to where he thinks the center of the Democratic Party is. And the Democratic Party has moved so far off the reservation that this ideology, this woke enforcement of their views on the rest of us. I mean, you got to remember, one of the groups in my book is the Southern Poverty Law Center, which raises money by comparing conservatives to domestic terrorists, to the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, I know.
And they were brought into the Biden White House.
All right, Tyler, thanks very much for appearing today. Good luck with the book, and we'll talk again. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.